my name's Mary Van Dyke. I'm the owner of Finding Grandpa. This class is how to become a Census-Holic and be proud of it, showing why you should track whole families through time using census records and what information can be found in them. A couple of years ago, about a year and a half, I was sitting in the library next door researching some Catholic Church records from Ireland. And one of the librarians turned to me and said, "Mary, you're our resident genealogy expert in Irish records, right?" And I was kind of embarrassed, and I said, "I guess if you don't have someone else researching more than I am in Ireland." A gentleman was using the microfilm looking for information on his grandmother who was born in Cork, Ireland. And he couldn't find anything. And he was hunting civil registrations and baptism registrations for her. And I turned to him and I said, "Have you tried looking for her in the census records here in America where she raised her family?" And he said, "No, is that important?" And I said, "Yes, it is very important." So we jumped onto the internet on one of the other computers and pulled up, I think it was the 1920 census. She was born in America, Wisconsin or Missouri. I can't remember where it was. Her parents were born in Ireland. And he was searching for weeks, I guess, trying to find records in Cork. She was born in America. So you need to track people in census records, and it will give you information on the family. What started me on genealogy in the very beginning was a census record. In 2003, I was going to go visit my oldest daughter who was living in the Netherlands. We were going to spend a week visiting her. And we decided we'd go to Scotland and spend 3 days in Edinburgh. Well, I knew through my dad's family research, he had all the genealogy on the family, binders of information, he had it all. To me at the time, names on a page. I was not interested in genealogy. I've never done it before. But I said, "Dad, I'm going to Edinburgh. Do you want me to search the National Archives there for something on the Bruce line?" This is my grandmother at the bottom, and her great-grandmother, Phyla Bruce, is supposed to be a descendant of Robert the Bruce. So I called Dad, "What would you like me to do? I'm going to go there." And he said, "I'm not needing anything in Scotland. I'm not interested in that. However, one thing that's been driving me nuts is where Phyla Bruce is buried." His mom, Thelma, at the bottom, told him in 1986 that Phyla died September 17th, 1871, and she's buried in Mitchell County, Iowa. Dad's never been able to find that. Not her death record, burial record, cemetery information. He cannot find her in Mitchell County. Nobody else in the family that he knew of was living in Mitchell County, Iowa. It's driven him nuts for over 15 years. And I said, "Well, I don't know what to do, but maybe I can find something for you. Give me the information that you have." So he gave me all the information his mom gave him. And I started searching the internet, and I came across Ancestry.com, and it had a free trial. So I said, "Let me try this." And I went in, and I began my family tree on Ancestry.com, loaded the information Dad gave me, and I started searching for Phyla and her husband, Elida Thompson. I found them in Jay, New York, in the 1850 census. It says a Shale Thompson at the top, and the second line is Phyla. Then I found the family in the 1860 census, again, Jay, New York, and there is, on this, next to the bottom line, Mary Imogene, my great-great-grandmother. And I know that in 1880, she's in Appleton, Wisconsin, and married Nels Nelson, and raised the family there in Appleton, Wisconsin. But I can't find anybody in the 1870 census. I lose the whole family. And I'm trying to figure out, I looked in Jay, New York, I looked in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I looked in Mitchell County, Iowa, where Phyla was supposed to have died. I can't find anybody. I looked for Phyla, I looked for Mary Imogene. I know Elida died in 62, so I'm not going to find him. Then I started searching for her brothers, Mary Imogene's brothers. I couldn't find her brother, Percy Edgar, but I did find her brother, Wilbur, in Appleton, Wisconsin in 1870. And I'm saying, okay, Wilbur's been there at least 3 months because his brand new baby's born 3 months old in Wisconsin. Mary Emma Jane probably left New York and moved in with her brother. I started to exit this screen and start searching again harder for Mary Emma Jane, and I noticed something on the page. He's living next door to a woman named Philadelphia. Phyla D, Philadelphia, right next door to this guy. I need to look for more on this family. They're at the bottom of the census page. So I flipped the page, and this is Wilbur Thompson and his family and Philadelphia Buttrick at the bottom of one page. The top of the next page, we've got Edgar Buttrick and a Mary Buttrick, even though her age is wrong. She should be 15 in the census. So wait a minute. What are the odds that Wilbur moved from tiny town New York to little town Appleton, Wisconsin, next door to a woman who has 2 kids that are similar to his siblings? Could Phyla have remarried after Elida died? Could not find a record for a Phyla Bruce or a Phyla Thompson marrying a J.W. Buttrick. So then I started working on trying to figure out about Mr. Buttrick. And I found him in the 1860 census, 10 years earlier, in a different town in Wisconsin, with a different wife. And his 2 daughters are Clorinda and Mary, age 4 and 2. And when I went back to that 1870 census, we've got Clara, 14, Mary, 2. Mary Emma Jean is Emma. We have Phyla, who married with a daughter Mary, and J.W. has got a daughter Mary. They're not going to call them both Mary when they merge the families. My Mary Emma Jean is Emma. Wait a minute. Phyla got remarried. Is there a Phyla Buttrick? Mitchell County, Iowa, September 17th, 1871. This is my moment. I still get tingles. That I became hooked on genealogy. This is my moment. Hello, my name is Mary, and I am a Census-Holic.
Hi, Mary.
I still get tingles. Now, before we begin, typical disclaimer. The websites I'm showing you are not everything that's out there. It's websites I use often. I flip-flop back and forth between them because they have different databases. If I mention something is free right now, be aware they might charge in the future. I have no control over that. But I really don't want to confuse you. In the examples I'm going to show you in these slides, one record might show a McDonald, the next record might show a Hamlin. I just don't want to confuse you. I'm flip-flopping just to show you what you can find in a record. What's the whole goal? The whole goal of tracking people through time using census records is to lead you to a ton of other records. You can find naturalization records based on census records, ship manifests, land map records and plat maps, birth, marriage, death, newspaper articles that everybody mentioned in those census records, obituaries, which will lead to child of or came from Ireland, and probate files. You also want to use census records to help firm up how family members are related to each other. Is it an aunt? Is it grandmother? Is it a cousin that leads you to a whole other line? Why are you going to search whole families? Because people live together. They lived either in the same home, in the same apartment, or in the same neighborhood. If you got a lot of immigrants coming over, they stayed together. They worked together. Somebody came from Ireland and he's got a job at the railroad. His cousin comes over, he's going to get him a job at the railroad. Now, this is a good example. When I first started the business, I asked all our friends and family, let me do some sample research on you so that I could kind of feel out how much time it takes to look for people. Alan's cousin, Jeff Szabo, was looking information on his great-grandfather, Louis Szabo. He is from Budapest, and Jeff had been spending, I guess he was talking about several years, looking in the Budapest records for information on Louis or his parents. He has had no success. I said, let me try. I found him in the 1930 census. It says he came over in 1912. So I went to the ship manifest, found the ship manifest, 1912. Louis and Margaret came to America from Budapest. Nearest living relative they left is his father, Emer. I can't tell if it's J. First I thought it was J-U-R-E. I believe now it is Y-N-R-E. It's difficult to read this handwriting. From Budapest. So we know his father's name. I went back to look at the 1920 census to see any information it might have. And it didn't have any new information for me. I still got the family in Gary, Indiana. And again, it says that Louis came over 1912. I'm just about to close this page and start searching again on something in Budapest, and Alan noticed this on the census page. Next door is another family named Szabo. We've got Jim and Elizabeth. They're only 14 years older than Louis, so I'm saying that's not his parents, that's probably an older brother or a cousin. Let me see what that has. If it's his brother, maybe there's something else in his ship manifest. He came over in 1914. In the 1914 ship manifest, this upper image is the left half of the page, lower image is the right half of the page. We've got Emer, I-M-R-E, and Elizabeth coming from Budapest. Nearest relative is his brother, Alexander, and it even gives the little town in Budapest, or the neighborhood. They're going to Gary, Indiana, to their son, Alois Szabo, their son. And come back and look at this. The age is way too young. So I figured what had happened was this couple came over, an elderly couple. Come on in. Excuse me. You're fine. They probably lied about their age on the ship manifest. A lot of elderly people said they were younger than they really were to avoid being rejected at the port of entry. They didn't want to be rejected, so they said they were a little younger. And now, 6 years later, they've got an official from the government sitting in their kitchen asking them questions about their age. They're not going to tell the truth. They are probably older than this. I can't see this couple having a kid when they were 14 years old. It's possible, but not likely. Jeff has been looking in Budapest records for a couple that are living in Gary, Indiana. They probably died there. We lose them in the next census. So now he shifted his focus from Budapest records to Gary, Indiana records to try to find the couple that he's been hunting for several years. I think it's only 7 years he's been trying to find something. So what you've got to do, when you look at census records, look at the whole page. See who else is there on the census page. Spot other surnames that look familiar to you. Look at the page before, look at the page after. People lived with or near each other in the same neighborhoods. Now, records for those people. We've got a couple. Say it was Louis Szabo's brother. We've got a death record for Louis Szabo and a death record for his brother. If you're only hunting for your direct line, and Louis Szabo's death record only says he was born in Hungary, but his brother's death record might say he was born in Budapest. Same types of records and or different records on the people in the family might have more clues than just your direct line. So you want to search for whole families because of that possibility. You need to do cluster genealogy, and that's tracking whole families through time. Part of cluster genealogy is that you want to search each member of the family from birth to death. You're going to do it for siblings on your direct line, including their children and their grandchildren. Because your direct line's grandmother might be living with the uncle's grandkid when she's in her old age. I'm going to give you an example. My great-grandfather, twice great, Peter, he died in Loughrea, Ireland, 1896. I only have one record for him. It's his death record for the civil registration. It only says he's 68 years old. It doesn't have his birth date, it doesn't have where he was born, and it doesn't have who his parents are. So I'm trying to find more information on the whole family. I started searching for his brother John. John married Mary McCullough in 1859, but he converted from Catholicism to Church of Ireland to marry her. And because he did that, even though the family had to publicly ostracize him, he's now a non-Catholic, and his marriage was recorded. They started in Ireland recording non-Catholic marriages from 1845. Then they did island-wide civil registrations for birth, marriages, and deaths, including Catholics, in 1864. And because this guy converted, I now have his marriage record. This is a transcription of the original document. My Peter from Lochray was a carpenter. His brother was a carpenter. This John is a carpenter. His father is a carpenter. So I know I've got the right man. And I've got one more generation back. The father's John Sweeney. Based on a tree that was given to my parents in 1996 when they went to Ireland, we were given a list of John and Mary McCullough's kids, and I was able to firm that up using the IGI files. And that was before Family Search broke it out into locations, and right now Ireland IGI files are births and baptisms. And I was able to firm up the birth dates and the quarters of when these kids were all born. I also have John and Mary living in Woodlawn, several miles away from Lochray, where my Peter is from. He is a carpenter in the 1901 census. He's also got 2 kids living with him, but I can't find them in the 1911 census. So I'm thinking, okay, John and Mary probably died between 1901 and 1911, and they probably died in Woodlawn. But I lose track of everybody. I can't find any of the Sweeney family in Woodlawn in 1911. I don't know who the boys married. I do know who 2 of the girls married. I found them in the IGI files. Elizabeth married Percy Pierce. Her sister Mary Jane married William Armitage. But Elizabeth married Percy in 1907, New York City. She came to America. I'm doing cluster genealogy. I'm going to track Elizabeth now because I lose mom and dad and the rest of the kids. Got her in the 1910 census, just 3 years after they got married. Excuse me. Elizabeth is living, the night of the census, both Elizabeth and Percy are working at the Manhattan State Hospital. They're not home. They're both working that night. She's a nurse, he's a clerk. But I noticed on the 1910 census, Elizabeth is the mother of 1 child. Who's got the baby? Mom and Dad are working. Who's watching that baby the night of the census? I can't find any Pierce child of the right age that made logical sense. So I moved on. Let's find Elizabeth in the next census. In the 1920 census, her and Percy are home that night with their daughter, Consuela. Also, Elizabeth's mother, Mary Sweeney, is there. But I'm dotting my I's. I'm tracking whole families through time. I go back. I got to find Consuela in the 1910 census. Where is she? She is here with her aunt, Mary Jane Armitage, and Mary Jane's 3 boys, and Grandma, Mary Sweeney, and another sister, Ellen Sweeney. They all came over, the upper 5 came over in 1903. Both women, the upper 2, are widows. So I'm thinking, okay, their husbands died in Ireland. They packed up the kids and came to America to be with Ellen and Sister Elizabeth. They're all in Manhattan. So I'm thinking, I need to find Mary Sweeney in the 1903 ship manifest, if that year's correct, because there's variations in years. I need to find out, did Mary come over in 03? If 03 is correct, did she come over in January or December? And I'm trying to verify that to narrow down when John might have died in Woodlawn, Ireland, between the 01 census and when Mary got on board that ship. So I can go back to Ireland and try to find John's death record. So I'm hunting Mary Sweeney, 1903, plus or minus 2 years in the ship manifest, and I can't find her. And then I started looking for Mary Jane Armitage, and I can't find her. I started looking for the boys. I can't find Alexander. But I did find Robert. Robert and William are listed at the top of the page in the ship manifest. Sorry, we're waiting for a video pickup. Robert and William are at the top of the page. So the upper image is the left half, the lower image is the right half of the manifest. It says that they're from Woodlawn. They're going to their uncle, William Armitage, on 48th Street in New York. But I noticed something else. With mother and grandfather. That little note with grandfather? Is that grandfather Armitage or grandfather Sweeney on that boat?
Either way, one of them's alive.
One of them is alive, exactly. So there at the top of the page, I went to the previous page to look what was written there. Page is torn. Everything to the lower left of the red line is from the page underneath when they took that photo. No one will ever find that family. Dozen people on this page. Their names are torn. However, the bottom four are from Woodlawn. Bottom of the page, I zoomed in. I've got a 57-year-old female from Woodlawn going to her son, William Sweeney, on 48th Street. William Sweeney, not Armitage. The next line is a 56-year-old male going to his son, John Sweeney, is on that boat. Then the next line is a 35-year-old female going to her brother, it's Mary Jane Armitage. And the last one is a child going to uncle. It says female, but I think it's Alexander. I think it's supposed to be male, again, because this page is ripped. I don't know if the F is from the image underneath or from that page. So now I got John Sweeney in New York City in 1903. But he's gone by 1910 when Mary Sweeney was a widow. Are they in the 05 census? Yes. John is alive in 05, living with their son, William Sweeney, on 48th Street. Again, he's gone by 1910. Can I find his death record? I went to the Italian Genealogical Group's website. I searched the death database. Show me all John Sweeneys that died in Manhattan between 1905 and 1910. I thought there'd be a gazillion. There's only 18 men in the Manhattan borough. I sorted it by age. There are 3 possibilities. 2 men in their 60s and one who was 71 years old. And I ruled him out because I found his obituary. He's not my John. The other 2 are a little too young. My John should be about 5 years older than this. But this is all I've got. There's only 2 men. I'm willing to try to find their certificates and pay for them if needed. I've got a specific death date. I've got a certificate number. I went to Family Search, selected the Catalog tab. Show me what you have for Manhattan. Under the Vital Records, it has Manhattan death certificates, including the date range that these 2 Johns died. I ordered both films. They're only $7.50 per film. They were in a couple of weeks. I have John's death certificate. This John Sweeney is a carpenter from Ireland. Been in New York for 5 years, but it's really only about 3.5. His father's John Sweeney. I know I've got the right man. And now I've got Mary Fitzmaurice, his mother. I've got a whole generation more. Now Fitzmaurice matches the tree that my dad was given when they went to Ireland in '96. In 1966, Maud at the bottom, she's my great-grandmother's little sister. My great-grandmother's Delia Cannon. It's hard to read the handwriting. Across the top, it says John Sweeney of Ross near Utherard. First wife is a Fitzmaurice, question mark on the first name. Second wife is unknown. This is Maud's dad and her aunts and uncles. Now, she was in her 70s or 80s, sharp as a tack in 1966. This is a pretty solid tree, and I feel very confident about its accuracy. If it was written left to right, oldest to youngest, and that kind of matches the records that we found on the children. Pat and Ann, Tom, Mary, and Peter. Tom, Mary, and Peter we were able to find records for in censuses and death record. Then it says Martin and John of Woodlawn, who married McCullough. And there's the list of kids. And that's the man I just tracked in New York. If John is the baby of this family, if his mother is Mary Fitzmaurice, if the first wife is Fitzmaurice, we can logically say she is the mother of all the children. I never would have found that record if I didn't track the grandchildren of a sibling on my direct line. You've got to go down 2 generations. It was Consuela's census that led to Robert's ship manifest, that led to John's death record. I never would have found it if I didn't track the grandkids. You've got to do cluster genealogy. But why census records? What's in them? You have the names of the household members from 1850 forward. How they're related to the head of house is 1880 forward. Place of birth of where these people were born, 1850 forward. I used this sample on purpose. I want you to notice something. The first line says Canada. The second line originally said U.S. The census enumerator was supposed to write the state. If born in America, what state? He just wrote U.S. Somebody else, whether it was the enumerator later or at the head office, because he actually did this enumeration in New York, wrote NY. Well, we don't know that's actually correct. How's he going to remember? He went to 500 houses that week. How's he going to remember that every single person that says U.S. is NY? And how did the people in the office know it was New York just because they enumerated in New York? So you need to be aware of this. If the handwriting on the page is different from everything else on the page, be careful. You don't know this is what happened the moment that guy was sitting at their kitchen table asking questions. The place of birth of the parents is asked 1880 to 1930. Ages of the household members, 1850 forward. In the 1900 census, it also asks what month were they born, what year they were born. 1900 census also asks, if you're married, how many years are you married? And it asks the wives, how many children did you give birth to? How many are living? Year of arrival is 1900 through 1930. But the 1910 census again asks, how many years have you been married? It also asks, is it your first marriage or second? So the first one says M1 and M1, meaning first marriage for both couples. They've only been married 2 years. And then it asks the wives, how many children did you give birth to and how many are living now? Year of naturalization is asked in 1920. In this sample, notice the top 3 people. Via father, it means when dad came over with the family, the wife and the kids kind of got grandfathered into that naturalization record. So you might not find a record on this person, Nina, but if you track her father, you might. So if it says something along those lines, you've got to look for dad's naturalization record. The occupation is shown 1850 forward. That's pertinent. If it said farmer, does he own the land? Clues like that can also help confirm relationships. If you find a Smith living in Manhattan in the census and he's working a clerk for the railroad or he's a conductor on a bus, and there's another Smith, he's also a conductor, and they're living right next to each other or near each other or in the same neighborhood, there's a strong possibility that they're related, so pay attention to occupations. If they owned or rented property, 1850, 60, and 70 actually asks if the head of house owns property, what's that value? So if you see numbers in that column, it means he owned that land. Then it asks, what's the value of real estate on the property? I don't think it means cattle. I think it means barns and homes and farms, etc. I think it means buildings, but I'm not sure. However, that clue can lead to probate files. He owned land, land records. Locations, I'm talking street addresses, are shown in the census records. In 1870, it says 31st Street between 9th and 10th Avenue. The 1880 says on 10th Avenue. And that pretty much firmed up when I was trying to track the family through the city directories, the dads, because the family owned a blacksmith shop on 10th Avenue, right across the street from Penn Station. They were always in that neighborhood. Now, the issues you're going to find for the American 1790 and 1840 censuses, it only shows the head of house. And it has a head count based on males or females and age range. I'm going to show you this image. We have the males on the left, females on the right. Head counts are broken down according to age groups. And back to that image. You kind of have to do logic with these. Now, it says there are free white males under 5 years old. That would have been their son, William, who's about 1. At the time of this census, he would have been about 1. Then the next says free white males, 20 to 29. That would have been Elida Thompson, who would have been 25 at that year. The next line says free white persons, females, under 5. Their youngest daughter, oldest daughter, Anne. She would have been 3. And the last line is free white females, 20 to 29, would have been Phyla. There's no proof that those head counts are William and Anne and Phyla. The only thing I know is Elida lived there because that's his name. But you kind of have to do logic. However, if they had nieces and nephews included in that, or another family, a sibling with their kids living there, or a widow and her kids living there, it's going to be trickier. But if I had an older couple, could be hers or his parents, or aunts or uncles, that's the issue with these early censuses. That you can pretty much use logic to try to determine who could that number really refer to in your tree. Why are you going to do multiple years? You've got to look at the big picture. Don't look at one record. You don't want to be a horse with blinders on. Only looking at one record, assuming Grandma was born in Cork. You've got to look at multiple records to try to help prove a family lore or give you another option. You're a working horse. Take your blinders off. Be aware of the potential paths that you can walk. Be aware of all the different records that you can find and all the variations of information you're going to find. Don't rule anything out. You are a working horse. Take off your blinders. Go through multiple years. Now, you can have variations in names, first names and middle names. We've got Mary Thompson in one census, and now she's Emma Buttrick, but Emma, not Mary, in the next. Maybe somebody got married. Phyla Thompson, Philadelphia Buttrick. Maybe somebody got married and you had no clue. Variations in ages. Expect variations in everything. This is the same woman. This is my great-grandmother, Anna McDonald. 1870, she's 21. By 1900, she's 50. I'm not worried about a 1 or 2 year float on the age. I can find her birth information if I have that pretty much age range. But in the 1910 census, her age isn't even there at all. And if that's the only record I found and didn't try to find more, I'm going to be clueless on when these people actually were born and how old they are in the 1910s. In the 1920 census, it says she's 65. Her and her 2 daughters, Gertrude and Loretta, they're all way too young in this census. It doesn't make sense. But if that was the only census I searched for, I'm not going to find their birth records because those years are wrong, way off. Variations can happen because of birth locations. This man, Edward Adams, it says in the 1920 that he's born in Maryland. 1930 says Germany. 1940 says Maryland. His death record even says he was born in Maryland. He married and raised his family in Philadelphia. But one of his kids, at the time of death, said he was born in Maryland. A family researcher asked me to help because she found a ship manifest for his parents. And on that ship manifest is a 2-year-old Edward born in Germany. So now she's trying to hunt the marriage record to see if it has something different. The point is, if nobody ever hunted for that census record, there's no proof that he was born in Germany. And everybody's assuming he's from Maryland. He's only 2 years old when they went to Baltimore. He was raised in Maryland. Year of arrival varies. I don't know who was talking to the enumerator each year. This is all about the same man, Patrick Kelly. The 1900 says he came over in 85. 1910 says 1873. And the 1920 says 1884. Well, what I'm going to do with this information, majority rules. 2 out of the 3 are within 1 year. So that's where I'm going to focus first. Floated a couple of years before and after, trying to find his year of arrival. I also have year of naturalization. I believe it says 1889 in this one. If I can't find it there, I must look in 1873 date range. What if that one's right? I can't rule anything out. Family members come and go. We've got the 1900 census. Annie Sweeney Casey is my great-grandmother's other little sister. I know she is a known relative. In the 1900s, she's living with a cousin, William Sweeney. I was not able to tie this William with anybody in our tree till I started searching John of Woodlawn. The 1910 census, William's not living there anymore. And the reason this is pertinent is because the address they were living at, 2500 block of 8th Avenue, matches Elizabeth's ship manifest. She's going to her brother, William Sweeney, on 8th Avenue at the same address where these people were living. So now I've got Annie Sweeney Casey, a known little sister of my great-grandmother, living with a cousin William at that address. His sister Elizabeth, who married Percy Pierce, who's the daughter of John and Mary McCullough of Woodlawn. It's the only document that solidly links the John of Woodlawn family I tracked to my direct line. If I only had the 1910 census and didn't look for all other censuses, that bit of information would have been lost. Locations of where people live varied. I'm talking about states and county levels. In the 1870s, this man lived in Richland County, Missouri, Wisconsin. In the bottom one, 1900, he's in Nottoway County, Missouri. If nobody knew he was also in the other county, in the other state, they wouldn't have searched there for records on that man's parents, siblings, or even children. You need to be aware that they moved. Maybe nobody knew that he at one time lived in Wisconsin. And they were searching all over Missouri records with no luck. And relationships changed. In the 1930 census, we have a Vera Husher, child of Frank and Anna. That's her daughter. In the 1940 census, Vera Husher is the half-sister of the Moravsky kids. It turns out that their mother, Mary Bensick, married a Leon Moravsky and had 4 or 5 kids. After Leon died, she married a Mr. Tompish and had Vera. Within a year, Mary Bensick passed away. Mary's sister, Anna, Mrs. Husher, adopted Vera. If I didn't have that 40 census, I wouldn't have been able to figure out who the heck is Vera Husher and the relationship between Anna Husher and Mary Bensick. Again, you have to look in multiple years on what census records are available. I only listed a few. There are so many available census records for so many locations. I'm not even going to go into any detail here. America and United Kingdom and Netherlands are what Alan and I use all the time when we're tracking our family lines. In Ireland, in the center, the 1821 and 51, there are portions available. There are remnants of those censuses available. It varies by county and it varies by census year. Ireland I know, and I think England and Scotland, but I know Ireland has a 100-year law where if somebody is potentially 100 years or less, public records are not allowed to be released. Records cannot be made public if someone is potentially 100 years or less to protect their privacy. Now, what websites have these records? First thing I want you to do is go to FamilySearch.org, click the Search tab. Under the Wiki tab across the top center, type in Census Records, and you will get a list, huge list, of what's available sorted by location. Each page describes the years available and where you can find those records and what questions are asked in those census records. I scrolled way down and selected United States Census. On this page, talks about what census years were taken, and it has links to where I can find these records, and it even makes a note whether it's a subscription site, like Fold3, like Ancestry. If I scroll down, it even mentions a link to, it has links to various states. I selected Alabama. What do you have for that? Well, the top half of the Alabama page talks about federal censuses. The lower half talks about Alabama state census records. What's available? Where can I find them? And that chart even breaks it out to, is it a free site or a subscription site? And you need to be aware of this variety because different websites have different databases. They're not all using the same filming that the National Archives has, for example. These are different collections. So under the Records tab on FamilySearch.org, far left in the upper corner, you can search the map that's on the right. Just click on a continent or a location. Once I clicked on Europe, it turned yellow, and a pop-up box above it happened. On the left side of the pop-up box, it describes the breakdown of different countries and districts. If I selected United States, it would have a pre-fill of all the different states it has available. When you select on the country or state, the right side of the pop-up box fills with information about the records available for that area. When I selected Netherlands, it talks about Netherlands records. I click the link, start searching Netherlands, and I get to the Netherlands page. The top half of the page has indexed-only transcribed records. Now, I need to make a point about this. Family Search has transcribed a ton of records, and it's in the upper half. But it also has uploaded digital images of a ton of other records that you can browse as if you order the microfilm and are using it here in the Family History Center. But they're trying to digitize their whole database that's in Utah and get it uploaded. This website is constantly updated because as items are digitized and uploaded, it changes in the bottom half. As those digitized images are transcribed, and that's constantly changing, it gets moved into the upper half, digitized indexes. But notice on the far right over here, there's a little camera icon. If you see that, it means you can actually look at the original image. I scrolled down the bottom half to the image-only section under Netherlands, and in the Census and Lists section is a link to the Census and Population Registers from 1574 to 1940. If I click that link, it'll allow me to go into different locations within the Netherlands, different districts, and then I can see what films they have uploaded. Again, this constantly changes. If you can't find what you're looking for today, come back in a couple of months. It's going to change. Or you can search FamilySearch.org. Just show me everything you've got for James MacDonald, born in Ireland, 1845 to 1850. Lived in New York, 1853 to 1900. When I type that in, there's 40,000 names on the search results. I want to narrow it down just to census records. Down the far left, under the Search tab, is a Collections button. When I click that, it sorts the 40,000 into collections. Birth, marriage, death, census, military, etc. Under censuses, in the far right, it says there's 364 results. When I click that, now I'm only looking at 364 results, just census records. Now I can scroll that pretty easy and view it. If you see something that looks like it could be your relative, click on the name. Notice the icon of the camera over here on the far right. That tells you there's an original image available. When I click on that, the white box talks about James himself, and down below him in the center talks about the family members, and the image itself, the original image, is what you always want to do. Look at the image yourself and make sure that that transcription doesn't have an error in it. You want to make your own decision, so you really always want to look for the original image yourself. If I click on that thumbnail, I can get to the original image, zoom in, download it, save it to my computer or to my tree. Ancestry.com. Upper left under the search tab, select census records. Show me all the information you got. Patrick Kelly, born in Ireland, who lived in Buffalo. There's 60,000 names. I can narrow it down on the far left by selecting the decade. I'm looking for the 1920 census for him. So I click the 1920s, and now I'm down to 21,000 names. I just want the 1920 federal census. So the list down the left tells me all the lists that have search results, 20,000 results, broken down by category title. I select the 1920 census, and now I'm down to 1,900 names. The first four are Patrick Kelly's, who live in Buffalo. I know my Patrick Kelly's wife's Helen, so I selected that line. When I click on the view record to the left of his name, this is what I see. The transcription is in the center. Thumbnail on the far left, I click it. Now I can view this myself, download it to my computer, and or save it to my tree. I want to make a point. I was a transcriber for Family Search. I know more people, there's more accuracy on Family Search's transcriptions than on Ancestry. Oftentimes, if I can't find it in Ancestry, and that's where I have my tree, so it's easier for me to find it on Ancestry and link it to my tree than it is to find it somewhere else and then go back and try to figure out where Ancestry has it. So I search Ancestry first, but I know their transcriptions stink. They are flat wrong 50% of the time. And I'm telling you, it's because Family Search has two people doing a transcription of the same page. If I'm transcribing this page, there's somebody else in the world also transcribing this page. If when we upload our results to the website and there's no disagreement, I saw 1874, they saw 1874, no mistakes, it gets uploaded to the database. If I saw 1874 and they saw 1877, there's an error, a disagreement. A third person, an arbitrator, will come in and look at the records, try to make that determination, and then it gets uploaded. Ancestry probably just threw it out there to the world, and a lot of people slammed through them. 1930 census stinks. People left out where people were born. It's just a shoddy setup. I don't know how they did the 1940s. I find the most errors of blatant left information off in the 1930 census. I don't know what happened. I just don't trust it. So if I can't find it on Ancestry, I go to Family Search. Try to figure out what it says, and then go back to Ancestry and hunt for that information. Even if I have to go to the page number of the census record that I found on Family Search. It's in Enumeration District X on page 4. So I tried to get there on Ancestry, figured out how they transcribed it, then search for that, and now I can attach it to my tree. Archive.org is a free website. It is basically a company, I believe it's in California. They are trying to put up digitized records of everything libraries worldwide have digitized online. So they're working closely with libraries to upload books.
Is it a free website?
Yes, archive.org. Yes, free. In the center, I typed in search census records. You can read books here. I love this thing. You just read books. You can even download it. You can see it in PDF. You can see it in JPEGs. You can see it in text. And the easiest thing is to search a text, and then go back and read the original page and save it to your computer. History books on county levels. They're just constantly trying to get with, like, Library of Congress, National Archives, local libraries, etc. When I searched for census records to see how I could get to their database on census records, there was a ton of search results down the body, but down the right side, I could select the category United States Census. When I clicked that, it was randomly loaded by state, by year, by county level. But I noticed down the right, again, I can narrow it down. Show me what you have for Pennsylvania. I selected the 1930 Berks County, which is different from the other counties in, I'm sorry, Faye, was that a raised hand?
No, go ahead, sorry.
1930, Berks County. When I clicked on this to see how it would pop up, that's the image. It's that tiny. But this little box with the arrows allows me, when I click that, to go to full screen. Now I can read it a little better. However, if I still can't really read it, and I can't read it, down here in the lower right is a zoom feature. I can zoom way in and read that. I also tried to search it. It says search this. Search inside. I tried the name Smith. I tried the name Jones. I even tried first name George. Surely there's somebody named George who's living in the 1930 census. I couldn't get it to work. I could not get it to work. So I don't know if that search feature means look for that word or phrase on this page, look through the whole file, or if it's only going to search text. And since I'm looking at a JPEG or a PDF, it might not have that search feature. I don't know how it works, but I did not take the time to go to the help menu and figure it out. I just want you to be aware. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the search feature. Genealogy, National Archives has the Ireland censuses. Click the Census tab in the upper left. Takes you to the page that discusses the different censuses that are available for the whole island. If I click Search Census tab, or even search the censuses down here in the body, it takes me to this page. The drop-down button on Census Year at the top allows me to pick the year available. Show me all the Patrick Cannons in the 1901 census living in Galway County. There's only 10 names. 10 Patrick Cannons in the whole county, 1901. I'm looking for a man in his 50s or 60s. There's 5 or 6 men. But only one of them is living in the right location. When I click on his name, it takes me to the transcription. This is Patrick Cannon. He's the head of the family, and he's a herd, which is basically the herd for the Lord in that area. There's only one man who's controlling the cattle and the sheep that belong to the Lord of the land during the census. If I want to see the original image, in the lower left corner, click Household Return Form, and it takes you to the image. I can download this to my computer. It's a free website. Fold 3 is a paid website, but you can see it for free in libraries. You can see it free here. Now this is the main page. If I just searched the database for James McDonald, under all records, use the drop down, when you click the drop down, non-military records. If I click that, there were 12,000 search results. I just want to see censuses. I had to go down the whole left side and uncheck the boxes for all the non-military records so that it would just leave me with the census records for the various years they have available. And now there's a little over 3,000 search results. If I just wanted 1 year, I'd uncheck those boxes for the years I don't want to pay attention to. And the search results, the images, are down the right. And I can click on the image and view each one. Or I can browse images. If I click in the upper right under search, there's a drop down. If I click browse, I'm going to the non-military records. Then publication, select census records, select a year, select, what are we talking about? Select the location, a state. And I can go down to the county level, I can go to the town level, I can go to the enumeration districts level. And once I click that, it shows me all the images that they have in their database for that location. Point again, go to different websites, they have different filmings. It's a different database. They're not all using the same films. usgenweb.org, volunteer website, it's free. Each state is different. They have different databases. Within each state, I'm selecting Kentucky, each county is different because a volunteer for Sandoval County is going to have different records than volunteers for Bernalillo County. They get together, or one person, and they decide what they want to upload to their websites. If I selected Butler County in the drop-down list, this is Butler County's page. I want to see, what do you have for census records? When I click on the far left, down, and each page is set up different. They don't all look like this. They don't all have links down the left. They have them in a variety of style. They're all done voluntarily and used. I'm not even sure what software they all use, but these don't all look the same. If I click census records for Butler County, there's a list. Now I've got the 1810, and the second one said 1840 census index with notes. What the heck does that mean, with notes? When I clicked on it, I figured out what was going on. This very first line, where it has information coming across the center, it's really tiny to read, so I blew it up down here at the bottom. It says, Paul Alney, as he was transcribed and written in the census, is on page 402. The note says, most likely Paul Abney, who married Mary Beasley, daughter of William Beasley. Mary died in 1821, and Paul then married a Nancy Embren in 1842. Whoever uploaded this index included his own research notes. So if anybody is researching family in Butler County, this is cool. Their own, all their history, they've converted it and now made it public for everybody to use. So that's a good website to go to. Go to any county your ancestors lived in and just snoop around there. You've got to expect variation in all the records. You've got to expect it. Be very surprised if all the records are identical with information. Oh, why did these mistakes happen? I'm telling you, names, dates, locations, relationships, everything varied from year to year. Why did mistakes happen? I want to put you into this picture. We've got a census enumerator down in the front talking to the whole family. You've got Grandpa with a little kid on his lap. You've got some servants over here. You've got a neighbor sitting on the horse, kid on his lap. Visualize the woman in the upper right corner with her arm on the husband's arm or her brother. Numerator says, how old are you? Maybe she doesn't want the whole world to know she's 5 years older than him. She's going to lie. Maybe Grandpa came from Germany. He never got naturalized. He's still an alien, but he's been voting for the last 10 years. You think he wants anybody to know that? Visualize 1900 New York City apartment complex. The enumerator sitting at the kitchen table. There's 5 little kids sitting on a woman's lap. She knows the walls are paper thin, and the lady next door is listening. She knows this. She's not going to tell him her true age, because the neighbor's going to know. It's her personal business. They kept their mouth shut. So you got to visualize what was happening. Try to figure out why it's wrong. Maybe the person speaking had a heavy accent. This family's from Germany. Their last name is Krim, K-R-I-M, spelled in the German records. The enumerator heard Grim, G-R-I-M, is how it got written. Maybe the person either speaking or writing didn't know how to spell it correctly. I'm looking for the Krim family with a K, and it's written Krim with a C. I'm going to have a hard time finding that if I don't float my search requests a little bit. Maybe the person couldn't remember the truth or the facts correctly or didn't know them. You've got Grandma watching the kids. talking to the enumerator. Maybe she doesn't know when her... The census enumerator heard one thing and wrote something else. Now, there's no proof of this because there's no relationship in this particular census. I think it's the 1860 census. George Krim, with a K, written Grimm, is 60. His wife, Catherine, would have been 55. Their daughter, Catherine, is 14. Daughter Caroline is 7. I know that's not a 5-year-old kid. I know Catherine Krim was 55 that year. But it's 5. So I'm looking for a 55-year-old woman named Catherine Krim, and I'm never going to find her because she's transcribed blatantly obvious as a 5-year-old Grimm. Maybe something is missing from the record. It's completely not even there. The enumerator didn't even ask these people how old they were. He only asked them their marital status, wrote it in the wrong box, and didn't go back when he realized his mistake, if he ever did, and asked these people how old they were. So you're going to have missing information. Incorrect information. That says Irving, and as a last name, Andrew, Martha, George, and William. That's his middle name. That's the Krause family. Andrew Irving Krause. I didn't find that till I started going through every single page in that census. There was maybe 35. I just started scrolling down every page, trying to figure out where is this family. And I stumbled across the Irving thing, and I realized Andrew Irving Krause. But now they're blatantly the Irving family. Maybe the person speaking lied. Debbie Cannon, my great-grandmother. She was 4 years older than her husband. Every census record says she's younger than she truly was. Edward McDonald, my great-grandfather, lied to get into the New York Police Department. He was a couple of years younger than what he said. As soon as he turned 21 the very next month, but he was only like 19, he joined. His dad was heavy into Tammany Hall. That man is never going to let anybody know that he lied to get into the NYPD. Can you imagine what they would have done to him? He's never going to let anybody know how old he truly is. Maybe the race is incorrect. Now, Jill pointed this out. I ran my notes back to her on this class. She was going to do this class initially. And she said, mention race. And that's a good point. Asian and Native American are written weird. So if you are focusing on James McDonald, who's white, and I never put in a race. I just never do that. I also don't put in gender, male or female. I just never do it because it narrows my search result potential because I have no idea how it's written in the record or how it got transcribed. The question in the 1860 census says, on the left, I blew it up a little, color. What color is that person? White, black, mulatto. Well, he's in Sacramento, California. The people are from Canton. They're Cantonese. He didn't write what race they were. Their color is copper. And that's how it got written in. Real tiny right here. Copper. Everybody in that whole man's enumeration district is now race copper. And it happened with Native Americans as well. What color are they? That's what they wrote. Now, transcriptions can be incorrect due to misunderstanding of the transcriber. That name down here at the bottom says Prudence Hamley, P-R-U-D-E-N-C-E, and it got transcribed as Pandora. Now, I could see the R and the A could be misconstrued. The N and the U could be kind of elaborate handwriting. I don't have any idea how they got O-R-A out of the last 4 letters of that.
No, because that looks like...
Yeah. Now, it's a different Prudence Hamley. I don't know what it is about this name. Maybe the transcriptions are incorrect because flourished handwriting is hard to read. I don't think I could have gotten ring dance, or rather Prudence, out of that, but it got transcribed ring dance. I'd like to see a show of hands. How many times have you ever in your life come across a woman's name, ring dance? That's how it got logged. However, the opportunity for multiple websites that have these records You can suggest a correction, even at the National Library of Ireland's website. You can suggest a correction. I think it's this way. If you see something wrong in a record, say it. Crim should be K, not a C. Prudence. Transcriptions could be incorrect because of the image quality. We've got a real faded writing here. Maybe it's bad because there's fire damage to the page. Maybe the page is torn. Maybe the page has water damage. Maybe there's even bleed through from the back side with heavy ink. So transcriptions could be incorrect because of image quality of the original record as it is today. That actually says, the first line, John Crim, C-R-I-M. But it got transcribed, O-I-M. That's what they could see. Maybe there's missing pages. And this is why I bought back and forth between different census records. Between different websites. Ancestry. Now, normally when you open up the register books, you've got page 3A and 3B, the left and the right. You flip the page 4A, page 4B. 4B is missing here. I went and looked at each page on Ancestry's website, but I don't know. Did they miss this? Are there people written in there, including my family? I don't know what's missing. I went to archive.org, went to that enumeration district, and read the page. They have page 4B. It's completely blank. And because it was blank, when Ancestry had it transcribed, it got listed as blank. Got rejected in the images. There's no data to actually upload, so they didn't upload that page. But I don't know this until I hunt it down. I don't know if Ancestry messed up. Maybe when they were taking the film, the guys flipped the pages too fast. Maybe the camera didn't work for that moment when it took the shot of that page. I don't know this, so I've got to research. How are you going to be Sherlock Holmes? You need to look for clues. How are you going to broaden your search results? This chart, I did not put in the handout, and I should. So if you want, we are videotaping this class. We are putting it online on YouTube. I have a couple other classes. If you search YouTube for Finding Grandpa Genealogy, you will see all my videos. So in a week or two, if this video comes out clear and you can hear me and the image quality is not poor, we'll upload this video. If it is a poor video, I will do a slideshow presentation and break it down into a few different sections, so there's only 10 or 15 minutes per video. So if you need to come back to it, just search YouTube in another, go ahead.
Is that Finding Grandpa?
Finding Grandpa, and type in genealogy. There's a link written in the handout, and I have business cards on the corner table here against that wall if you want to grab one, and you can search YouTube for it. Every time I try to just search Finding Grandpa, multiple videos pop up. But when I typed in genealogy, I just saw mine. So it will help you get there quicker. So don't panic if I'm going way too fast and you need me to elaborate on something or I didn't clarify something enough for you to understand. The whole point of this class is to help you. If I'm going too fast, please feel free to email me later and I will elaborate. Or you can rewatch the video. Now this chart, down the left side, I put what type of item. We're talking about searching last names, first names, birth years, birth locations, and look where they lived. And across the top, your first try in your search, do it exact. Then broaden it a little. Use a wildcard in front. And a wildcard on most websites is a symbol that substitutes for letters. A lot of websites use a question mark for substitution of one letter. The asterisk will substitute for one or more letters. So, for example, last name on your second try, wildcard in front. I type in, it's hard to read, I apologize, Anna McDonald is who I'm looking for. I typed in asterisk Donald because I don't know if it was written MC Donald, MC space Donald, MAC Donald. I don't know if even it's hard to read the M with the little C, or sometimes people wrote, Maybe it got transcribed Anna, M period, middle initial, Donald. Maybe she's only Donald in the record, and I'm trying to hunt for her. But when I use an asterisk, this is the search results I get. The very first one is MC Donald. Then I got MC space. And then the next one is MAC. So there's a good example right there of why you want to use a wild card if you can't find it typing in the name exactly. Again, you have no idea, especially immigrants, how American government officials changed their names. You've got no idea. You've got to float with that spelling. Van Dyke. Van, space, D-Y-K-E, D-I-J-K, how it is in the Netherlands, D-Y-K, D-I-K-E. You have no idea how it's written, so you've got to play with it a little bit. I'm going to try to go faster. You could try leaving it blank. Just show me all the Annas, born 1849 in New York, living in New York, husband is James. Now I have a whole list of all the Annas. 1870 doesn't pay attention to James' husband because there's no relationship in that census. I'm going to look down all the names, and I'm going to scroll through as many as I can to see if it got transcribed. What could be McDonald in this census? Or I'm going to go to another website, search their database. Now I'm looking for Loretta McDonald. Use a wildcard in front of the first part of the name. It's asterisk E-T-T-A. Now I've got a Coretta, C-O-U-R-E-T-T-A in that list. Loretta, L-O-R. And down lower is Loretta, L-A-U-R. Get a variation of spelling, but at least I'm not stuck on Loretta. Where is she? I got to float with the spelling on first names. Now show me all the McDonald kids. Who's a child of James and Anna? You'll get a ton of lists, a ton of search results. Look at the names to see how it was transcribed and could it be misinterpreted from McDonald. When I typed in all the kids named McDonald who were child of James and Ann, I got L-E-T-I-T-A as one of the search results. Is that Letitia? I'm not sure. And the next one's Lotto McDonald. Now, that could be a Charlotte nickname, but it's most likely the O's could be E's in the index, and I don't know how. I don't know. So you've got the float. So leave the first name blank. All the kids McDonald born that year, child of. Or leave it blank. Leave it blank. So you're going to play with the spelling. First try to do it exact, then try to play with the spelling, and then leave that spot blank. Birth year, Anna Cannon. I'm sorry, Delia Cannon, born 1865, Ireland. There's only 6 results. But if I widen on the scroll bar, plus or minus 5 years, scroll bar on the left, there she is with Michael Cannon. Edward Adams, born in Maryland, 1887, lived in Pennsylvania, wife is Agnes. We've got them at the top. But if I remove his birth location and I take Maryland out of the picture, there he is, born in Germany. That's him. If you can't find it, float the information a little bit. First try a county level on where they lived. Andrew Albert Krause, born in Iowa, lived in Richardson County, Nebraska. 2 results with a wife Agnes. But if I said on the scroll bar of location, just show me the state level, now I've got another potential. He lived in a different county in Nebraska that year. All your issues. Don't be worried that you have a closed door. You have not hit a wall. There are open windows. If you broaden your search requests, if you look for whole families through time, you do cluster genealogy, you can find clues that will lead to other records. Thank you very much. Destroyed it, I can't remember why.
Because I've gone to various sites on that.
You won't find it. No.
It's vanished. It's not there.
Do you remember 1890? What happened there? I think it was a fire in D.C.
Flood. It was.
fire in St. Louis.
That was military, that destroyed a lot of military records in St. Louis.
Yeah, yes.
I know that.
Yes, but I think it was a fire in the National Archives. I'm not positive. I also think there are possible, and I'm talking tiny amount of location at the county level or state level where you might find something. I want to say go to Wiki on Family Search and type in 1890 census. Anytime you use Wiki on Family Search, whether you type in a phrase, a subject matter, or a location, if there's any information they know, they're going to give you all the information they have on it. Type in Montana, they tell you what's available in Montana, links to county courthouses, etc. So go to Wiki and look that up, 1890 census. You're going to find your true answer there. Because I'm pretty sure it was fire in D.C.
Yeah, and that's been, I don't know, that's problematic when you've got a 20-year span.
Or you go to Wiki to have the
No, FamilySearch.org has its own wiki. And let's see if I can get back to it.
Yeah.
La, 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 la.
It makes it a lot.
Which year was it?
1890. Now, some states had their own state censuses.
Yes.
New York had 1892, 1875, but not Manhattan. So it varied by borough and by county. And all my family lived in Manhattan. I can't find them. Go ahead.
I have another question for you.
Sure.
And I can't remember if it was like 1850 or 1860. But over on the right-hand side of the page, this is you looking at the real record, it's got deaf, dumb, blind, or idiotic.
Yes.
Now, why would you ever claim?
Because they were not politically correct 100 years ago.
But what was the purpose to ask the question?
I would assume
Mentally
the government
deficient.
is tracking down how many people are disabled in the area, possibly so the states can claim aid. Don't know this.
That seemed
Wiki that.
awfully unusual in 1850 that they would care.
It could very well be.
Later on, I could maybe understand, but I just said, what?
Yeah.
I mean, in a census record, and I only saw it that one year.
And it could literally be they were trying to document how many people needed possible government assistance. Don't know that. That's my logic for current day, but I don't know that. But if you wiki it, and here's your wiki page. I'll give you just a moment. The FamilySearch.org, that's your main page. When you click the search tab, you either search the records, go to the catalog to see what Utah has, or click the wiki tab. And when you click wiki, it's just like Wikipedia. Type in a phrase, type in a location, and it will tell you in your search results a ton of different pages in the search results. Ma'am.
It says most of it was destroyed in a fire in 1921.
21, did it say where?
It doesn't say when.
Ma'am? She said that she found
Fire
A fire?
in 1921.
And where was the fire? It just said there was a fire.
This page just
Probably
says fire.
DC.
I would think that's
Yeah.
where the whole country's database was kept.
A fire in 1921. Lisa? Where are your cards?
Oh, I'm sorry, business cards are over here on the table if you'd like to help yourself. You can also email me and or go to the website, Finding Grandpa.
Thank you.